de nuevo, aquí en Uruguay probablemente ha habido mucho de ese aprendizaje. El Plan Ceibal se fue aplicando por etapas y fueron aprendiendo muchísimo sobre desde qué pasaba, cómo arreglar los enchufes, ¿no?, a cómo ir trabajando con los maestros, etcétera. Por lo tanto, y eso, si uno no tiene indicadores y no va monitoreando, es muy difícil poder hacerlo sistemáticamente. También permite tener una buena rendición de cuentas y permite también proteger al proyecto y mantener un análisis de mediano y de largo plazo, sobre todo en caso de que cambien las autoridades. Es muy importante, sobre todo frente a cambios a veces muy drásticos de autoridades, poder tener una buena documentación, un buen monitoreo del proyecto para poder conversar de manera técnica sobre los proyectos y poder evaluar en esos términos su continuidad. Y finalmente, también, más allá de las oportunidades en el aula, yo creo que es muy impactante, y a veces también de esto se habla poco, relevar el valor de la tecnología justamente para poder monitorear y gestionar estos procesos hoy día de manera muy fácil y de bajo costo. La verdad es que si estamos hablando de tener mucha tecnología en las escuelas, es casi un producto menor el poder también tener sistemas de información que permitan a las personas que toman decisiones saber qué es lo que está pasando en cada una de las escuelas en distintas variables y, por lo tanto, tener sistematizado todo el proceso. Y entonces, el poder contar con indicadores es más o menos algo así como poder tener el tablero con los datos más importantes con que uno puede manejar, ¿no es cierto? Hay un montón de datos que uno podría medirle al auto, ¿no? Pero ciertamente la velocidad a la cual suben o bajan los vidrios no es muy importante. Pero hay ciertos indicadores, como saber si me estoy quedando sin benzina o no, o si se está calentando el motor, o si la velocidad se disparó y no me he dado cuenta, que son completamente necesarios para tener una conducción segura y poder llegar a buen fin. Ahora, el tener un sistema de indicadores y el tener un sistema muy evaluado, ¿garantiza mejores sistemas educativos? Por supuesto que no. O sea, a lo mejor podemos tener sistemas muy monitoreados, muy evaluados y no necesariamente tener transformaciones educativas, pero sin duda, en la medida en que nosotros podamos ir monitoreando oportunamente, nos vamos a ir dando cuenta antes de aquellas cosas que van bien y aquellas cosas que no van tan bien para poder tomar medidas oportunamente. Eso. Muchas gracias.
Vamos a escuchar a los tres panelistas primero y luego vamos a dar campo para las preguntas. Vamos ahora a escuchar al señor Robert Cosma, consultor individual en temas de TICS y educación y especialista en políticas públicas.
Buenas tardes a todos. I'm sorry that I'm going to have to speak to you in English, but very happy to be here in this beautiful city today. The last several days we've been talking as a group about ICT policies all around the world, from Singapore to Rwanda. And we've found many similarities. One of the things, though, that we're very interested in, and what I want to talk to you about, is how ICT can transform education, make it totally different, something we don't yet have a good vision of. But what I want to talk to you about today is what do knowledge creation schools look like? When we go beyond knowledge memorization or knowledge understanding, and we have schools where the focus is creating knowledge, what do those schools look like? Because that's a total transformation. It's very different from what schools look like today. What we've found when we've looked at policies, ICT policies, all around the world, is that there was very much an emphasis from countries like Singapore, but also Rwanda, on using ICT to move the country forward to an information economy or a knowledge society. And I ask myself the question, what does that mean? What is a knowledge economy? What is a knowledge society? And I looked at the research on macroeconomics, microeconomics, looking at individual companies. And what we've found is that we're moving away, at least some countries in the world, such as mine, the United States. And I grew up in the city of Detroit, and if you're familiar with that city, that's where many, many cars used to be manufactured. When I was a young boy, I worked on the assembly line. Well, when I was a young man, worked on the assembly line at Ford Motor Company. And this is where many, many people in Michigan made their living, was manufacturing automobiles. 2 years ago, two of the big car companies in the United States, General Motors and Chrysler, declared bankruptcy. Many, many jobs have been lost in the U.S. Because we're moving away from a manufacturing economy in the U.S. and many other developed countries around the world. Those jobs are going to some other countries, but in the developed countries, this is really a trend, moving away from manufacturing. And what is a manufacturing economy? Manufacturing economy relies on mass production. We make the same thing over and over and over and over and over. And we want those things to look exactly alike and to be very precise and be very standard in the way that they're made and the way they perform. That's really the fundamentals of a manufacturing economy. It very much relies on manual labor and rather simple cognitive skills. I worked on an assembly line. I installed the steering column in trucks. So that was my job. I did that over and over and over. That didn't require much skill. It didn't require much skill at all. But that was a very important part of the manufacturing economy, is people who would do that, thousands of people who would do that. And it didn't require a lot of skill. It was very much a hierarchical command and control. I had a foreman who told me what I was supposed to do. He had a supervisor. He had a manager. The whole company was organized top-down and very hierarchically structured. The organization was highly integrated. We not only made trucks, we made cars, we designed the cars, we sold the cars. I mean, not me, but the Ford Motor Company had all of these parts of the organization. It was a huge organization. That's really the manufacturing economy. We're moving away from that in most developed countries. In fact, the 25 largest economies in the world are now service economies. That is, the majority of the economy, or the largest sector of the economy, is services rather than manufacturing or construction. And information products and services are the fastest growing part of the economy. What we're finding is that in developed countries, at least, we're moving away from an economy based on manufacturing and selling goods and selling products to the creation or generation and use of knowledge. And that's really what a knowledge economy is. Now, what are the implications of that? Well, there's also a knowledge society. That is, one of the things that I found in looking at the research is that we're really changing our habits as a society. There's a much higher level of education in knowledge societies. There's a very high penetration of ICT in the homes and businesses and schools. A large majority of people use the internet for email, for online shopping. A large percentage of people, that's their primary source of information. When they want to learn something new, when they want to find something out, they go to the internet. If they want to find something out about health or jobs or government, they go to the internet. More so than reading the newspaper, more so than asking a friend or a relative. they go to the internet. This is part of a knowledge society. Large percentages of young people use ICT to connect with other young people to create, share, use digital materials. There's a large percentage of young people who are engaged in taking photos, making music, sharing that online, downloading photos, videos, music. That's all part of the knowledge society. What we also found in looking at the research is major transformations in the way businesses are conducted and organized. Business practices are changing from this manufacturing model with a top-down organizational structure and everybody doing the same thing or their assigned task over and over and over. We're finding that there are self-managed teams, that teams of people, groups, are actually deciding together what to do and how to go about doing it. There are regular employee meetings in these innovative knowledge economy businesses. Flexible work arrangements. People work at home or they work in another country. They work on the weekends, probably work on work days and on the weekends and the evenings and so on. Using computers by frontline people. That is, it's not just the managers who are using computers. Everybody is using computers, and it's the people who are interacting with customers and clients who are using the technology to help them do their job better and make the company more creative, innovative, and profitable. The organizations are structured differently. There's a flattening of the organization. Fewer people that are managers and more people are engaged in actually providing services and actually interacting with clients. Decentralized decision-making. So people who are actually working with the clients are making decisions about the services to provide to the clients. Disaggregation, companies are becoming smaller. They're breaking apart. So there are smaller groups that are working together. Sometimes they come together for a project. At the end of the project, the group disbands. Or one group is working this day or this project for one company, and the next month they're working for a different company, perhaps even a competitor. Outsourcing and offshoring, cross-organizational collaboration. So there are really major transformations in the way that businesses are organized. And all of this is making a difference in terms of the job requirements, what it is that we're expecting or requiring people to be able to do that are employed in these innovative information economy businesses. There's less demand for manual skills and routine cognitive tasks. Those are really all being done by computers now or robots. More demand for more complex cognitive tasks, problem solving, communication skills, team skills, being able to work with others. ICT substitutes for these low-level skills. The computers are really performing those skills much better, and because of that, companies are more productive and more profitable. But people are losing their jobs because they don't have high-level skills. Rather, the people that do have the high-level skills, they're not being replaced by computers. Rather, the computers are supplementing and augmenting their jobs, so they become better problem solvers or better communicators. All of these transformations are being facilitated by ICT. There's very much a connection between the capabilities of the technology and the way these changes are being made. But when we come to schools, what do we see? Very much the same kind of thing that we would see if we went into schools 100 years ago. Schools are structured as enclosed groups in physical spaces. Classes meet with the same group, the same teacher, the same time, the same day. Curriculum is in silos. It's math and then science and then language. Teachers lecture, much like I'm doing now. Students study, take notes, and work independently. Standardized exams are used to measure students' recall of factual information and simple procedures. Technology is used as a supplement, whereas in businesses, it's central, it's changed everything. For schools, it's an add-on. It's something that they do in addition, the students do in addition, or the teachers do in addition to what they're already doing. What if we change everything? What would that look like? It's difficult for us to imagine that because all of us, more or less, went through the same schools. Your school in Latin America looked pretty much like my school in Detroit, looked pretty much like schools in Europe or even schools in Africa. I mean, there are a lot of similarities in the way schools look and how they're conducted throughout the world. So it's difficult for us to envision this transformation, totally different looking schools. How is it that technology can make that change in what it is that teachers do, what it is students do, what students learn, what the curriculum is, how that learning is measured, and how schools are organized? It's difficult for us to imagine that. What I want to do is give you a video, just one. We don't have a lot of time. And this is just one particular school. It's not the answer, but the idea is to stimulate your thinking, because it's really your answers to these questions, not this particular example, but to get you thinking about what schools might look like if we changed everything. Sorry, this is also in English.
In this converted Navy facility near the San Diego airport, thoughtfully applied technology is transforming public education.
We're going to want to focus on the advertising throughout the school.
They're doing things, they're producing things. So the purpose of tech in High Tech High is not for consumption, it's for production.
A former high school carpentry teacher with a law degree, Larry Rosenstock, became founding principal and CEO of High Tech High in 1998.
I tell our visitors who come here, stop any child that you want, grades 6 through 12, at random, and ask them what they're working on and watch what happens. They'll look you in the eye and they'll talk to you about what they're working on.
So what we're going to do in this class is we're going to make a movie or like a documentary on everything we learned. So we're learning about physiology, but we're also learning about like After Effects, which makes like videos and stuff. So bring them together.
High Tech's 2,500 students gain entrance by lottery and represent a cross-section of San Diego's public school population.
Okay, trace it out.
And whether they choose to focus on the arts or sciences, all of them are engaged in rigorous projects.
And one thing we want to be careful of is that we don't add your DNA to these samples and you come out in the end with your DNA barcode.
In an 11th grade biology class, students are developing a DNA barcoding process that will help African law enforcement officials convict poachers.
These are photos that I got last week from one of our collaborators in Nairobi. This is in Eland.
I know everyone's really serious about it because it's a serious issue, but this is really a lot more fun than you'd be able to do in any other classroom.
A lot of people donate stuff.
Right, just
because we're a nonprofit.
Right.
Whenever possible, projects are designed to serve the local community, whether it's creating a storage system for the YMCA.
We have a new storage facility in which we could actually take this out.
Or designing an assistive technology device.
She used it for the first time and moved that bar up and down the paper for the first time herself. Her eyes just lit up. It was the first time she'd been able to do something on her own, and it was just... The students were tremendously touched. I was touched. It was just a really amazing experience.
What's going on here?
That's a fat that builds up.
Instead of grades on high-stakes tests at the end of the year, students are assessed on an ongoing basis.
Assessment is not an end point. It's not an end activity. It's something that goes on moment to moment. So teachers are always checking for kids' understanding and so forth, and we're always asking kids to, in a lot of different contexts, to kind of describe what it is they're working on, what it is they've discovered, what their plan is for the next day, and so on. So assessment is folded in.
Good work, guys. All right, thanks.
They are also judged on their individual digital portfolios and their stand and deliver presentations of learning.
I'll start this presentation of learning today with math and physics, followed by Spanish 1, and finishing off with humanities.
Instead of taking finals at our school, we do POL.